day of grinding in my favorite JRPGs. Ugh. Ugh. Excalibur, you need to go over here, my friend. Ugh. Ugh. Now the question is, what am I going to do for a video idea? That's something we need to think about. There's a message. Huh! I've been notified. Apparently Captain Frugal wants me to do a video about game series that have long since been... have either been discontinued or that we want to continue. Alright then, sounds like a stellar idea. Let's do it. What's up, comrades? It's me, Nightwolf, and welcome to another video. Welcome to a video basically requested by Captain Frugal to do, where we talk about video game series that we would like to see continue. Some of them might have been cancelled or may have long since been put on hiatus because of multiple reasons. And I just realized my microphone is in the wrong location. Hopefully you guys picked up most of that. If not, I apologize. But anyway, so we're going to talk about games that we want to see come back in some form or fashion. Now, one of the first series that I thought of, because I've been thinking about this series quite a bit recently, was Star Ocean. Now, as some of you guys may or may not be aware, Star Ocean is owned by Square Enix and has been running pretty much... it's been around for quite a number of years. The last game was Star Ocean 5, Integrity and Faithlessness. I don't have a copy of it yet. I did buy one recently, but that game was not very good. And the only reason why I'm going to briefly touch on Star Ocean is because, one, I love this series a lot, because it's a JRPG, but it has a lot of science fiction involved in it. Like, we've got Star Ocean 3 here, and Star Ocean 4. These series were great, for the most part, but Integrity and Faithlessness has me very concerned, because there's a very strong chance that Square Enix will not continue the series. And that has me very worried for its future. Although the creator has mentioned in interviews that he wants to continue the series and do a 6th entry. But considering that Square Enix relegated the series to a mobile game after the failure that is Integrity and Faithlessness, I'm not holding out very much hope that the series will continue. There is still hope. There is the last hope, if you will. But it's a very tenuous one at best, and considering the quality, I don't think that the studio Trice is getting enough funding to make good Star Ocean games at the moment. That could change in the future. Now, why don't we talk about another Square Enix title that has been neglected for many, many years? Final Fantasy Tactics. Now, there were three other games of this made in the series. A recreation of the original Final Fantasy Tactics, which I'm holding right here, for the PSP. And you could also buy it on your mobile devices right now, called Final Fantasy Tactics War Alliance, which is a remake of the original. It keeps most of the assets, but updates it and removes a lot of the glitches and bugs that were in the original. But there were two also for the Game Boy Advanced and the DS. I'm not going to get too much into those because I only played the Game Boy Advanced one, and I wasn't really all that thrilled with it, because this game was great. It had, like, intrigue, drama, it had a bunch of really amazing, like, war, betrayal, really deep stuff going on in it, class systems, fighting. It was a really good series. It was a really great individual game. But after that, the games kind of went down the wayside. The Game Boy Advance version went for a more lighthearted and cuddly approach to its storytelling about some kids in the real world being transported via a magic book into a fantasy world. They got isekai'd, basically. And while that's fine, the game left a lot to be desired for missions and combat, and overall, just not a very good series. And ever since then, with War of the Lions basically being the only port that we've gotten recently, I think that it's fair to say that Tactics has been shuffled away to the wayside, and we probably won't be seeing very much of it in the near future. I would love, absolutely love, to see more of the game, but currently, as it stands, we are probably not going to see very much of it. I will say that there is a mobile game that came out that was also pretty good. That's okay. That uses very similar combat to Final Fantasy Tactics, but it's not Final Fantasy Tactics. I want a legitimate game. I want one of these. This is what I want, Square. I would love you to continue this. Make a good story. Make a good, compelling story with a really good war story. If the Fire Emblem series can do it, so can you. There is no excuse. So, I wasn't going to be just satisfied with only 2 titles. So I'm going to talk about another game series that recently pretty much got the shaft, and I'm very concerned for its future on whether or not we're going to be getting another entry in the series after a very, very bad misstep by Namco Bandai. As you guys are very well aware, I am a massively huge Gundam fan. Have been for many years. And this series, called Gundam Breaker, it has a very, very close sentimental part of my life, especially my later life currently in my early 30s. Now, and I owe a lot to this series. In particular, I owe a lot to Gundam Breaker 2, because this actually is the very first series you will find on this channel. The oldest videos on my channel are for Gundam Breaker 2. This is actually the game that also introduced me to my good friend Rabbit Sensei Gaming, who I've been a friend with for many, many years now, and I absolutely adore. He's one of my closest friends online, and this is where the channel started. I sometimes still get requests to play these games on occasion. I love these games. Gundam Breaker 2 was great. And here's the thing, I mean, these are imports. Nobody in the US could get these easily. You had to go to Play Asia or buy them used on eBay in order to acquire these games. Because as you can probably clearly see, Japanese. I had to work very hard to learn how to translate and learn how to play this game. And there were a lot of guides, a lot of local communities. The Gundam Breaker community was growing really, really quickly and very well. Unfortunately, there are some problems that it is currently facing. But there was some very good news after the first 2 games came out. Eventually, when Gundam Breaker 3 came out for the PS4, it got localized into English for the Taiwan version, or for the other Asian countries, because apparently there's a good amount of English speakers out there. So this game, the third one, is translated into English. It did not get a release here in the States, which it should have, but the fact that you can actually read this and is well translated well enough so that people can at least understand the game and how to play it was a huge godsend. Not to mention that this game in particular is probably my favorite. 2 comes awfully close because it has a lot of sentimental value to me. But 3 is really good. 1, not only can I understand the story and how to play the game really well, I loved customizing my kits, and I absolutely loved the way that they handled the customizing in this game. This game allowed for any type of weapon that is part of the custom equipments and armaments that you put on the kit would eventually allow you to use those parts as a weapon. Unfortunately, this is where my praise ends. The Gundam Breaker series, unfortunately, has probably been put out to pasture. I don't know if it'll come back. It might. But this game, New Gundam Breaker, is the one who killed it. This is the culprit. This game, which was localized to all countries, pretty much anybody can grab this game, even here in the States, this game destroyed the franchise in one fell swoop. Mainly because the original team that was working on it were put on a different project for Namco Bandai, while a new team was taken for this one, which was a terrible idea. This game came out buggy, broken, and almost unplayable. Now, it did get patches, but I've played the patched version. It's still pretty bad. It is the most boring Gundam game I've seen in a long time. There is little diversity to the missions, and those that are and where there are divergences, they're not very good, at least from what I've played. The customization is even better than it was even in 3. Unfortunately, because of that, they had to sacrifice other things, like the actual ability to use weapons that are equipped to your mobile suit. And they also included really weird, arbitrary... They added a thing like a frame system that they thought, this will be a great addition, you know? This frame will allow the player to basically build around the suit. Basically use whatever parts they want, but the build will be determined by the frame itself. In theory, it's not a bad idea, which it does cut down on grinding, which the other games had a lot of. However, too many sacrifices were made to make a terrible Gundam game. One that because this game only within its first couple weeks got discounted to hell. That's how bad this game is. In Japan, it got discounted almost immediately. In less than a week, it went down to almost 60%, if I remember correctly, in how much it costs to buy a new copy. Now all that's left is a mobile game that isn't even called Gundam Breaker. Will the series come back? I don't know. I have not heard any news or information saying it's coming back, because I'm pretty sure that this pretty much killed it. Because this was a global release. Keep that in mind. This game actually came out in the States. So that means people in the States think that probably this is the only Gundam Breaker game out there, and think that this was the quality that they could have had. Bandai dropped the ball, and this game is the reason. It breaks my heart. I want this series back. I want the original team back. But I highly doubt we'll get it. But you never know. Things can change. Now, I'm going to talk about something a bit more lighthearted, a bit more hopeful. Although this series has been long since dormant for probably well over 10 years, maybe even longer, I still love the series, and I can at least live with the fact that even if it never returns, it's left a lasting impression on me as a gamer and whatnot. And as you guys may have known, I've told the story many times about Wild Arms 2. Yes, the Wild Arms series. I love this series, similarly to how much I love Star Ocean. JRPGs are great, but most JRPGs follow the same prototypical world and design. Dragons, sorcery, high fantasy, that kind of stuff. And that's fine, but I do like a bit of variety. I like games that experiment with different subcultures of entertainment. Star Ocean touches sci-fi. Wild Arms? This series focuses on the Western. Good old-fashioned Wild West shoot-'em-ups. Not so much in gameplay-wise, but this series is very heavily rooted in Wild West themes. Heck, in Wild Arms 3, you can ride a horse in combat, in a typical turn-based combat system, which is amazing, by the way. I don't have Wild Arms 3 here with me. I only have used copies, and there's no decent box art. But Wild Arms 2 was what got me into this series. And it's an absolutely phenomenal series. One that's highly underappreciated by most people. Probably there's a lot of people who may not have even heard of it. I even have the remake for the very first Wild Arms game, Wild Arms Alter Code F, right here. The fact that it's a Western-themed JRPG with guns and a bit of science fiction, a bit of mysticism, a little bit of everything for everyone to enjoy. This series is part of my childhood. I love this series. It's had a grand total of 5 entries and 1 port. Or, well, not 1 port. And 1 very small, I believe, PSP release. Unfortunately, this is owned currently by Sony. Sony has the license to Wild Arms, and I'm pretty sure that they have no desire or interest to return to the series at any given point. And if they did, it probably wouldn't be very good at this point, but it's one of those series that I really wish would come back, or maybe a spiritual successor, another game that's similar to it in some form or fashion. There is, of course, my current love, The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel, which is more like kind of a take on the industrial age, which is kind of close to what I like. So that series kind of scratches that itch that I have for JRPGs that try something a bit different. But that's pretty much all I can really say about games that I would like to continue or to come back. That's pretty much it. I could probably think of more, but these are the ones that came to mind the most when I was requested to do this video. So, but of course, there is the request from Captain Frugal to maybe pass this along to others who may want to try and make some, videos talking about some series that they'd like to come back. So, the question is, who do we tag to do this? You know what? I think I got some people. How about we tag in OZChris? I bet he hasn't done a video like this before. Let's see if OZChris is interested in doing a video like this. Maybe my good buddy G-Shadow would also like to weigh in on this topic and maybe tell us a little bit if there's a game series out there that he misses that he'd like to come back. I'd like to hear his thoughts. And, of course, I know he's going through a bit of stuff, but you know what? I'm going to also ask my buddy Rabbit Sensei Gaming. Since I talked about him earlier in the video, it would be wrong of me not to include him in the tag. If he has the time and the interest to do so, I'd like to hear his thoughts. But until we hear from them, I'd like to thank you guys all so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please, as always, do not forget to leave me a like. Shoot me a comment. Subscribe if you're new here. I greatly appreciate that. And, of course, as always, do not forget to raise your nerd flags high. And I will see you next time. Nightwolf is out.